On today's show, we're going to talk about a company that's raising $80 billion with a B, another company that is going to go public potentially at almost $1.7 trillion, and one of us is appointed to a board position in their community. This is for clients only.
I'm Sean Cook.
And I'm David Rookie.
And David, I know I wasn't appointed to a board, so it must be
Process
you.
of elimination.
Yes.
That must be me. Yeah, I actually am really proud to announce that I was appointed to the Economic Development Corporation in Abington Township, which I don't know if we talked about it in the beginning of our... Yeah, in the first podcast, I'm not sure if we talked about it, but prior to this career, I worked in economic development in downtown small towns, working with small businesses to help revitalize shortly after 2008. So much work to be done. So moving to Abington Township, we're now residents here a little over 4 years. And I've kind of been interested and eager to figure out how I could take some of that experience. I had done it for over a decade more. And I was really excited to find a place where I could take that experience and help the town that I now live in. And so what do we do? So the Economic Development Corporation is really geared towards, again, right in my wheelhouse, really geared towards working with the economic corridors within Abington Township,
Right.
helping them to retain their businesses, recruit new businesses. All of that helps with sort of the economic vitality of those downtowns or those economic corridors, which bleeds into a really great community experience.
Right. It's so important to be connected to your community and find ways to give back and be involved. This fits with who you are so well. I'm just so thrilled.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I'm very excited and already sort of am walking the walk and talking the talk. I got into a fairly big project. My wife and I were always doing projects around the house. And one of the projects we undertook was building a pergola. And not one of the ones you just like buy a kit and you just pop it up. This is like a custom pergola built off our house. It was awesome. But it highlighted a local business in Abington, Geppert Lumber.
Yes.
I could not be more pleased with the customer service, but just their story. Just last year, they celebrated their 100th anniversary. Generationally, I think it's now third generation. And it was just so great. Like you could tell that they were, I'm a little DIYer. I'm not, going in buying, truckloads of lumber for big construction projects, but I felt like I got the same amount of attention if, compared to maybe even like their biggest customer. And they were so very nice. And the product was great. Outsourced lumber, different things to meet my needs, would call me to make sure like the timing of everything. Cause we were trying to get everything done this past weekend.
Right.
And if you remember a couple weekends ago, it rained. So really trying to focus in on a time and they could not have been better. So I'm excited to, in my role on the EDC, to continue to help businesses like that prosper and stay in Abington and more of those to come into Abington. So
and I have yet to see pictures of the pergola. So
you did pictures?
No.
I sent them to everybody.
That's it. When I was out last.
No. Sean needs to check his team's messages.
Apparently
You do actually.
I will.
But anyway,
so going from a small business to bigger businesses. What's in the news?
In the news, just over the last couple of days, we're in the beginning of June on time of recording. One particular business, Alphabet, parent company of Google, is going to be raising $80 billion in capital. Why? I think we bring this up mainly to talk about a theme we've talked about on every show, which is the AI infrastructure build out. So $80 billion is trying to be raised because capital expenditure is.
Yeah. So Alphabet is raising this money through this year. They announced the plan. And it's because they're plowing it all back into building out into the AI infrastructure build out, right? This is a unique period in time. And they've before they had all this profit, they've put that profit back in, and now they're still looking for additional funds. And so that money is actually going into a lot of other, companies into actually building all the infrastructure, not just data centers. But the reason they're doing it is that the demand for AI offerings from businesses and consumers are exceeding all the computing capacity that is available. And so one of the things that we've touched on before is a very valid concern. So much money has been going into AI, and we do see discussion about, some negative discussion about it
Right.
and that sort of stuff. So the question is like, when, is this a bubble? When does it, if it is, when it does it turn around, all that. And, the fact that there's still not enough funds to be able to go in to support this multi-year build out, um, helps to put some certainty, right, around this being a continuing trend. Certainly, it will go up and down,
Right.
right? Um, I was, we were talking the other day. There's a documentary that I watched this week, which I would recommend, called The AI Doc, not like doctor,
I
but like,
thought it was
yeah,
doctor. It's doc.
documentary, on the streaming platforms.
Right.
And it's like a 2 hour long documentary, filmed over the last couple of years. So I think the filming probably stopped early this year.
Oh, it's a
And
quick
things are
turnaround.
moving
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
fast that even parts of it
Or yeah.
slightly dated. I thought it was really good. I told you the caveat I would say is like, I recommend it, but make sure you watch the whole thing, because there it is. AI is such a disruption right now in our society, and such a hot topic, that there are very valid, incredibly negative and incredibly
Right.
positive things. So if you watch the first 30 minutes and stop there, you will be so depressed and
Uh-huh.
stay there. If you watch like the next 45 minutes, you'll be over the moon. And then, after that,
They bring me back down
yeah,
again.
and then after that, it kind of gets back into some of the other things and stuff. But the thing is, AI is, and we'll continue to talk about this in different
Right.
ways. We earlier today, we were not for the podcast, but we were talking about some of the jobs impact and what
Right.
we're actually seeing with numbers and all that. So
And that will definitely be another topic on the podcast, because
yeah,
there is that sentiment, especially at the end of last year, that, some of that pullback from some of the AI was, oh no, it's taking all these jobs.
right.
We dig deeper into that in a future podcast.
Right. But some of the news, just what the capital markets are doing, we thought we would talk about, and one of them being this big announcement by Alphabet, about raising money this year
Yeah.
for that. And so, so that's one big piece of news. There's another big piece of news about other capital market stuff, right?
Right. But
The
also has a very close connection to AI. Is
SpaceX IPO.
SpaceX IPO,
So
imminent.
what is an IPO, Dave?
IPO, initial public offering, an opportunity for regular investors to own a portion of this company.
Right. So
A way for that company to raise capital.
right, and we don't
No, we
we
do
don't
not.
participate in IPOs, but the way markets work, if a company needs money, it has a few different routes. One is they go, even if they're huge, they go to banks and try to borrow the money, which might have a certain interest
Mhm.
rate. They can issue bonds to borrow money from investors, right, at a
Right.
right corporate bond at a certain interest rate, or they can issue stock where they're actually expanding or giving up some of the ownership of the company
Mhm.
permanently, but with low or no interest rate, right, that they have to pay out.
Right.
So depending on what the company is trying to do and what what interest rates are, there are different levers, and that's why the Google thing is kind of interesting, because they apparently are judging that it's more effective for them to issue stock than to try to issue corporate bonds.
Right.
And with the SpaceX IPO, and with any IPO, um, new stock only, it's sold into the market. So you typically have a lot of promotion
Mhm.
around that stock or that theme at that time.
Right.
And so, yeah, SpaceX is projected to be, is it the largest?
Yeah, I mean, all indications are that it'll be
Yeah.
the largest IPO in U.S. history. And I think probably what's taken it to that level is, so SpaceX is not just the space exploration part, the connectivity part, but also now the acquisition, a part of that sort of three-headed, I don't want to say three-headed monster, but part of that company's build out is the acquisition of XAI. So now they've got exploration, connectivity, and artificial intelligence.
Hitting all kinds of themes that you can think of,
Right.
right?
Largest IPO, and then again, sticking with the AI theme, you'll probably have Anthropic and OpenAI
Mhm.
and those all coming along the, probably short order.
Yeah, and so the markets, when there's when something's hot, the
Right.
markets tend to find a way to fund them, and that with IPOs is issuing stock out into the market. Um, yeah, and interesting, like this SpaceX one is getting so much news, um, good and bad, and there are a lot of kind of crazy things around it. It seems that in this climate, they're changing some rules so that funds and pension plans and stuff can hold. Usually, they're not allowed,
Usually, yeah, with an
right?
IPO, there is a period where that particular stock is not included in a broad ETF that encompasses an index or various pensions or other types of funds. Rules have changed slightly that now it seems to be that inclusion could be as quick as 15 days.
Yeah. So
And
one,
why is that important? Because IPOs, again, we just talked about there's this lots of build up, lots of ramp up that's very exciting. Historically, there's a bit of a drop shortly after.
yeah, it's every company is different and every story is
Yeah,
different,
not all the same, but
right? But if you take IPOs in aggregate,
right,
right, most of them, the price goes up with and shortly
right,
after announcement and public market, and then has a period where it declines, and some places never come out of that, some
right.
go off to the moon,
And
but
it's really
yeah,
just the market ultimately dictating what the real price is.
right,
So hence the reason why it was more advantageous for that longer waiting period before that particular stock would enter
right,
into a fund or ETF or other investment vehicle because it would allow for that sort of initial spike and then potentially fall or level out to where
mhm.
that real market value is.
So the indexes are gonna absorb this, and we'll see what happens.
And we'll talk probably more about it in our next episode. It's been a lot of fun. We'll talk to you next
Yep.
time.